Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And this topic kind of came up again because on the Facebook fan page I had someone getting a conversation with me about TRT and all of that. And again, people have these misconceptions because of bodybuilders and people in the fitness world. People like pocket liner. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Work on skilling my crafting a little bit and let's talk about this because people need to understand people who legitimately qualify for TRT prescriptions have actual medical issues. This is actually an area of endocrinology where doctors are involved, there's research involved. We have long-term studies that have looked at tens of thousands of men who have low testosterone to actually see if their health markers improve, if they go on TRT versus if they go off. And we've actually found things like men who are diagnosed with low testosterone over the age of 40, who go on TRT have a lower rate of heart attacks and strokes than men who choose not to go on. So people will say silly things like, well, you guys who are on TRT, you wouldn't be anything without it. It's like, would you tell that to your dad if your dad was diabetic and dependent on insulin? Would you be like, well, Dad, the only reason you're able to work out and keep gaining is because of your insulin? Yeah, he would probably struggle to gain muscle without it. But the absurdity of taking legitimate medical prescriptions and using that sort of statement that, well, if you didn't take your prescribed medicine that you need to be healthy, you wouldn't have this or that. Well, that's kind of the point of why people are given prescriptions for things they need for health. And what people need to understand, when you have other medical issues with various underlying problems, sometimes having a low testosterone can be exacerbated by those other medical conditions, or the low testosterone can make it worse. Like in my case, because of the autoimmune component of my Meniere's disease, I get elevated cortisol levels. And when I say elevated, I mean my cortisol levels, if I've been laying around resting, are probably higher than yours are after you do a 2-hour-long workout. So put that in perspective. And what they found, and my endocrinologist had found, was that my elevated cortisol pushed my testosterone down even further. And when I don't have testosterone, when I'm not given my prescription, I get hypoglycemia. I have all sorts of symptoms of elevated cortisol, stress. I struggle to work out. I have blood sugar problems, all sorts of other secondary health problems. So I'm a perfect example of someone who, no, I actually needed to be healthy. I don't just need it to lift weights. I don't need it just to lift weights. I need it to be a healthy individual because I have secondary issues related to my cortisol that there's a balance between the two. So that's a perfect example. And I've known other people who legitimately need these things, but then you have this and then you have other people who use large amounts. And so when you say you're on TRT, here's the problem we run into. Everyone assumes because they meet some guy whose TRT is 250 milligrams a week. Well, I can tell you right now that's not TRT. I can tell you right now that's not healthy. That if a person were to go on that amount, self-administered, because your doctor's probably not going to prescribe it, and you did that for 5 years straight, odds are, not everybody, but most people, your blood work would look pretty bad. Your LDL would be elevated, your hemocrite levels would be elevated. You would actually not have particularly healthy blood work, right? You can't stay on even that sort of, because that's double what the body produces. Most prescriptions are like 100, 125, maybe up to 150. Not 250, not 300. You can't stay on those long term without, most people, and there are exceptions, without suffering some minor health problems. And in some cases, major health problems. That is not TRT, but there's this misconception because you have people, and the Lobliner's a perfect example. Now, he would stand up there, well, I only, it's what I take is between me and my doctor. And, so he would give the impression he only used TRT. Well, I used to have conversations with him before he and I had our falling out. And he did talk to me a little bit, and people forget I was very good friends with his coach before he ran into health issues. His coach, John Hollywood, who he admitted prepped him, talked to me quite a bit. His coach gave me the stack that he put him on when he earned like his little pro card in that other federation. I know the stack. It was given to me because I was friends with John Hollywood. He sent it to me. So when you have people like Lobliner who are like, oh yeah, I'm just on whatever my doctor prescribes, then you see this whole WFN scandal. Well, you know, Lobliner's the sort of guy who will, yeah, run 250 tests and call it TRT, stack a gram of EQ in, gram of nandrolone in every week, 4 or 5 units of growth hormone every day. You know, that's his TRT, guys. That's TRT, right? And they'll say things like that, but then it turns out he wasn't even getting stuff from a doctor. He had all this stuff at WFN that was shipped to him. It was all black market. It was all underground lab that had been shipped to him, and he's later admitted all that was true. He admitted all that was true in later videos. Okay, you know, so I may have signed for the packages. I did receive all the stuff. I ordered it, but I chose not to use it. I mean, but he accepted all these packages for this black market stuff. He admitted it in a video. You know, but you have people like that, and then everyone sees that, oh, he just used what's prescribed by his doctor, and then what pops in their head is that everybody who's using TRT must be using supraphysiological amounts. They must be using amounts that are more than a 16-year-old boy produces. Maybe double what they produce, maybe 5 times what they produce. Because you have guys who self-administer larger amounts than this, larger amounts than they need for ideal health. And I'm not saying the amounts for ideal health don't have some muscle building benefits. Oh, they absolutely do. In fact, there are studies on that show that TRT amounts administered to someone who is healthy will actually cause a small increase in muscle growth. It will boost your muscle growth from your gym gains. Absolutely. It's not going to double them. You're not going to gain twice the muscle. But does it seem to have in clinical trials a small advantage for healthy people? Yes. How much does it apply to older people with other health problems? I don't know. We've never studied it. We know they have more muscle and less fat than the general population who doesn't get the prescription. But it's not 30 pounds of muscle difference here, guys. It's not 30 pounds. But yeah, it has a small advantage. But people get these misconceptions that if a person is on TRT, that they should look like a bodybuilder, that they should look like a Lobliner. That's insane. That's insane. No one on TRT only is ever going to look like somebody like that. That's not how it works. But the problem, again, we have is that people have this disconnect. They're not understanding that tons of people who are fit, who work out, who are older, who get a TRT prescription, who legitimately need it, are not using bodybuilder amounts of this stuff. They're using therapeutic amounts being given to them with a prescription legally by their doctor that keeps their health on point. They're not using harmful amounts. They're not using things that are going to harm themselves. They have a doctor who monitors the blood work, a doctor who monitors to see their PSA, which affects prostate, have their cholesterol levels checked, have their red blood cell count checked. All of these different health concerns are checked periodically by a doctor, and the amount that they're prescribed is adjusted accordingly, because this is done to improve health, not to destroy health. But the problem we have is that, again, it's being used now as code for, hey bro, I'm on the sauce. And the problem is that people can't seem to distinguish the difference because of that, because you have guys who do that. And again, guys like Pocket Liner who did it. It creates this image in people's minds that every person who's on TRT must be using bodybuilder or athlete doses. And that's not how it works. That's not what their doctors are prescribing them. The vast overwhelming majority of people on TRT are using what their doctor is giving them. They're not going to Paco over at the gym and getting some extra vials from him in the locker room. Some are. Some are. But the difference is you can tell the difference. In some cases, not always. But again, there's this big misconception being caused by this, and it's this absurdity that people then have. They tell people, I mean, they'll tell people like me, well, you know, if you didn't take your doctor prescribed medicine that you need for health, you wouldn't be as big and as strong as you are. Well, no shit. And you know what? If I needed a B12 shot because I was B12 deficient or anemic and my doctor had to give me iron, or I was insulin dependent and required insulin from my doctor, I also wouldn't be as big and as strong without taking it. The absurdity of it. The absurdity of it. And again, people seem to lose sight of that. They're losing sight of the fact that TRT, the research is showing that has a lot of health benefits for people who legitimately qualify for it. It's life enriching. It's health improving. We're falling back into fitness, legitimate health and fitness here. This is what we should be interested in YouTube fitness. Right? We're not talking about a 25-year-old kid just jumping on self-administered testosterone. We're talking about people who actually, their testosterone is declining from either medical issues or age, who actually get health benefits and will possibly live longer as a result of it. So why would a sane person who qualifies for it come off? Like, why would you do that when it actually improves your health, improves your quality of life, your mood, cuts your risk of heart attack, strokes, all these other diseases? Why would you come off of that? That's insane. And it's not the same thing as people like Pocket Liner or Lobster Liner, or whatever you want to call them, who stack in grams of other stuff with it that aren't even legal for human use, and then just saying, well, I'm just on what my doctor gives me. That's so he doesn't get in legal trouble. It's a cop-out, guys. That's how it works. But we need to stop confusing these two things, because they are two totally different things. They're not the same thing at all. It's just that now, because there's a legal avenue available for legitimate medical reasons, everyone jumps up and, oh yeah, that's why I take it. You know, I don't know. And I don't know how we make that distinction between people, because they use it as an insult almost, that a person is on TRT, so they're some way cheating. And it's like, well, I mean, if cheating is going to help me live longer and have a higher quality of life, you're damn right I'm going to cheat. And if you had any sense, you would cheat too in that situation. But it's not the same thing. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.